Our main story tonight is about ICE, the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And it's going to get a lot darker than what you already think. Tonight, we are talking about the private detention industry and the companies that have built fortunes from it. Companies like GEO Group and CoreCivic. And we're not just talking about prisons. We're talking about the way immigration detention has quietly become one of the most profitable and least visible forms of human trafficking in the United States. Once, private incarceration was at least honest about what it was. A prison was a prison. But these greedy corporations started running their penitentiaries like their little enslavement camps. Public backlash forced a pivot, and most prison systems shifted from privately owned firms back to state-owned and ran facilities. So the branding for these billion-dollar companies evolved. They needed new customers, a way to get their federal funding back, and their facilities and infrastructure running again. Now the language is softer. Residential center, processing facility, civil detention. These terms are designed to make you imagine clipboards, not cages. But detainees describe the same architecture: fences, razor wire, constant surveillance, isolation, punishment disguised as policy. Immigration detention is classified as civil, not criminal. That distinction matters because civil detention is not meant to be punitive. But in reality, the lived experience often mirrors punishment. Deprivation, confinement, medical neglect, solitary confinement, psychological pressure. Civil detention becomes prison when the body is confined and dignity is treated as optional. Here is the most important fact. Private detention companies make money not when the system works, but when the system grows. Detention contracts are often structured around daily rates, per person, per bed, per day. So what is a human being inside this system? A unit of revenue. And that transforms everything. Detention becomes longer capacity, becomes desirable. Harshness becomes efficiency. The moral language fades, replaced by operational language. Cost control, compliance, discipline, risk management. When profit depends on cutting expenses, human beings become the easiest budget line to reduce. You cut costs by understaffing facilities, replacing care with paperwork, outsourcing medical services, denying specialists, delaying emergency responses, using solitary confinement as cheap control. Solitary confinement in civil detention is especially grotesque because it is supposedly not punishment, yet it is used as punishment. Sometimes for behavior, sometimes for mental health crises, sometimes simply for convenience. And unlike criminal incarceration, detention doesn't come with certainty. Many detainees do not know when they will be released, where they will be transferred, what their legal outcome will be. They are suspended between nations and legal categories, treated as if waiting is not harm. But waiting is harm. It can break the mind. It can break families. It can erase a person's future, even if they are later released. There is another part of this system that should shame a modern democracy. Detainee labor. Programs exist that allow detainees to work for wages so low they cannot honestly be called wages. Historically, $1 a day. Defenders call it voluntary, but in confinement, voluntary often means this is the only way to survive with some dignity. And if you are forced to work to afford basic needs while being detained against your will, it does not matter what label the system uses. The world knows what it is. Most of these detainees are supposed to be there for a short period of time. Truth is, some of them are there for months and even years, working hard jobs for $1 a day, separated from their families, deprived of a personal cell phone, basically incommunicated. Sometimes a phone call would cost them a day's wager, all for committing the atrocious crime of being undocumented workers. This is not just an immigration story, it is an economic story. And it reveals something about America that many people would prefer not to see. We have built an industry that profits from confinement, and then we act surprised when confinement expands. The cruelty is not an accident, it is an incentive. And until that incentive is removed, abuse is not a failure of oversight, it is part of the design. The biggest problem in America, we may call it the only problem, is that we are infected with the sickness of greed.